Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today, we bring you the journey of a man whose story is not just about wrestling, but about passion, resilience, pain, triumph, and the undying spirit of chasing a dream. A man who was told he was too small, too weak, and not the right fit, yet he became one of the most beloved professional wrestlers in history. This is the story of Bryan Danielson, the man millions around the world came to know as Daniel Bryan. Stay with us until the very end, because this is a story that will touch your heart and remind you why dreams are worth fighting for. Bryan Danielson was born on May 22, 1981, in Aberdeen, Washington, a small town that didn't look like the birthplace of a future wrestling legend. He was raised in a modest household, with nothing glamorous about his childhood. But what set Bryan apart was his heart. As a kid, he was quiet, humble, and often underestimated. He wasn't the biggest in school, he wasn't the loudest, and he wasn't the one people expected to chase glory. But deep inside, Bryan carried a spark that would one day light up arenas across the world. Like many kids, Bryan grew up watching wrestling, and he didn't just watch it, he studied it, absorbed it, and fell in love with it. His idols weren't the biggest or the flashiest stars. He admired the ones who told stories in the ring, who wrestled with heart, and who didn't need size to prove their greatness. That was the kind of wrestler he wanted to be. When he told people he wanted to become a professional wrestler, the world laughed. He didn't have the look. He didn't have the build. He didn't fit the mold. But Bryan didn't care. He knew that wrestling wasn't about fitting into a box, it was about breaking out of one. He began training under some of the best teachers of the craft, including legendary wrestlers who saw something in him that others couldn't. What they saw was pure love for wrestling. Bryan wasn't chasing fame or fortune. He just wanted to wrestle. And that love made him different. Bryan's journey took him across the globe. He wrestled in tiny gyms, small halls, and independent circuits where the crowds were small but passionate. He didn't care if there were 10 people or 10,000 people, he gave his all every single time. Fans quickly saw that Bryan wasn't like others. He wasn't pretending. He was real. He was authentic. He wrestled like every match was his last. Slowly, his name began to spread. The wrestling world started whispering about this small guy with a big heart, who could out-wrestle anyone, anywhere. He became known as the American Dragon, a fierce competitor who could take down giants with skill and technique. He earned respect everywhere he went, from Japan to Europe to America's independent wrestling scene. But the dream wasn't just to wrestle, it was to reach the grand stage. The bright lights, the place where millions watched, the place where legends were made. Bryan wanted to stand there, not just for himself, but to prove that passion and hard work could beat every doubt and every stereotype. When Bryan finally got his chance in WWE, the world's biggest wrestling promotion, he was greeted with the same words he had heard all his life: too small, not marketable, not the guy. But what WWE didn't realize was that Bryan had been hearing that his entire life. And every time, he had proven people wrong. This would be no different. At first, his time there wasn't easy. He was overlooked, doubted, and often pushed aside. But something was happening, something magical. The fans were watching. And they loved him. They didn't care about size. They cared about heart. And Bryan's heart was bigger than anyone else's. He gave fans something real. Every time he wrestled, they saw a man fighting for his dream, fighting for respect, fighting for them. And slowly, the chants began. Yes. 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 A simple word, but it became a movement. It was more than a chant. It was a celebration of believing in yourself when no one else does. It was Bryan's heart connecting with the people. That chant grew so loud, so powerful, that the company could no longer ignore him. The fans had chosen their hero. They had chosen Bryan Danielson. They had chosen the underdog. And then came the night that defined everything: WrestleMania 30. A night when Bryan, the man who was told he was too small, too weak, too average, stood against giants. A night when he was beaten, broken, and barely able to stand. But he fought. He fought with every ounce of heart he had left. And when the dust settled, Bryan Danielson stood tall as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers. Yes. 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 Filling the arena and echoing across the world. It wasn't just a victory for Bryan. It was a victory for everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough. It was a victory for dreams, for persistence, for heart. But Bryan's journey wasn't just about victories. It was also about pain. His career was filled with injuries, setbacks, and heartbreaking moments. At one point, his injuries were so severe that he was forced to retire. The man who loved wrestling more than anything had to walk away from the ring. And that broke not just his heart, but the hearts of millions of fans who loved him. But Bryan Danielson wasn't done. The same spirit that made him rise before pushed him again. He fought, he healed, he refused to give up. Years later, against all odds, Bryan returned to the ring. And when he did, the world welcomed him back with tears, cheers, and love. Today, Bryan Danielson continues to inspire. Whether he's in WWE, or anywhere else, his presence is more than wrestling. It's a message. A message that no dream is too big, no obstacle is too strong, and no heart is too small. His story is not just about wrestling, it's about life. About never giving up, about believing in yourself, about proving the world wrong when they doubt you. Bryan Danielson showed that you don't need to be the biggest, the flashiest, or the strongest. You just need to be real, to fight with heart, and to never, ever give up. And that's why Bryan Danielson is not just a wrestler. He is a symbol. A symbol of hope, of resilience, and of the beauty of chasing your dreams no matter how impossible they seem. Thank you for staying with us through this incredible journey of Bryan Danielson. If his story inspired you, if it reminded you to keep fighting for your dreams, then don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with others, and subscribe to Nation of Glory for more stories of heart, hope, and heroes. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep believing, keep fighting, and always say yes.